Everybody, get rocking here. Teach my song, man, don't say. I came home, didn't want to go to work, just wanted me to die. When I'm on the car, and the day was good. In 18 months, this baby good. Got a $1 million lies, I'm a name on. And they whisper in the pie, they're telling me don't. All right, let's roll. So I've been thinking a lot about this. And in fact, those of you that were participating in the listing sprint from last week, the absentee owners sprint, we're doing a bonus day today at noon because of clarity that I feel like I have, and specifically providing more detailed explanation of how to go from here to here. Meaning not just what do we do to start the conversations, but how do we turn that conversation into a contract and close that contract so we can get compensated, right? So A to Z, end to end. And I like alliteration. I like when things line up. And so this may not be perfect, but for now, it's good enough. 7 C's. 7 C's. First, we have to choose. And by choose, what is or who is the audience that we want to help? Are we looking for buyers? In that case, are we following the OG deal sprint process where we've got bait? We're going to use that bait to reach out to buyers, and then we're going to collect that information, collect the leads. We're going to contact them so we can get into a conversation and then connect with them more deeply, the ones that are more interested, so that we end up writing a contract and closing the transaction. Alexa, turn the volume down 1. So choose, collect, contact, converse or conversation, connect, contract, close. Absentee owner. So we're choosing absentee owners. That's the audience that we want to connect with because we want more listings. The collecting of that is we go into Lead Deck and we choose what absentee owner targets or buckets are going to work. We then contact them, tapping to text, to call, to email, and we can direct mail. We converse with them. Yes, no, maybe so. We connect with the ones that we're able to get a preliminary offer for in that scenario so that we can determine, are we going to submit that offer with the institutional or submit for a final offer with the institutional buyer? Is it a situation or scenario where this is best used as bait to then start over the process to go find buyers, or are they open to a listing contract? For example, you submit the preliminary offer from an institutional buyer. You get with them to review in more detail, and they say, I like that number. I really don't like those fees. And this is a writer downer. Totally get it. If we could get you that number with significantly less fees, is that something you'd be interested in? So they like the price. They don't like the fees that QuickBuy or Zoomkasa or Zoodealio is charging for the speed and convenience they're offering. The pivot is, okay, great. So that number works. If we could get the fees to be a little bit more acceptable, is that something you'd be interested in? I've also realized in thinking through this and doing my best to distill everything down to what is the simplest and also most effective way for us to get more of what? The one in the middle. Conversations. 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 One of my favorite, I guess I'll call him one of my favorite marketers, and just an absolute genius when it comes to marketing, and specifically for real estate agents, though he now helps businesses of all kinds. His name is Dean Jackson. If you haven't heard of Dean, you should find him. He's I mean, just incredibly good stuff. Incredibly good stuff. He has something he calls his 9-word email. His 9-word email. It's a simple and incredibly effective way to start a conversation around something that is relevant to the recipient. And though the script that we've been using and I've been recommending for the absentee owner, for the absentee owner listing sprint, it has been working really well. It has been very effective. I've talked to a number of you who are getting 10 to 20, sometimes as much as 30% reply or response rate. And so that version 1, which I am now calling the one step, a one step, meaning going right for the offer right away, has really been effective. And for anyone watching this, if you want this entire scripts book, for those in the Zoom room, I'll drop it in the chat, number 1. Number 2, if you're watching elsewhere and you'd like a copy of it for free, just drop a comment or DM me on Facebook or Instagram. DM me or Facebook or Instagram, or drop a comment, and I will share with this with you. So this is like a one step. Hey, Kathy, this is Josh with eXp Realty. Is there any chance you'd consider selling your property at street address to an out-of-state private client of ours in the next 30 to 90 days? It's been really effective. And yet, I have also talked with some where their response rate has been lower, and it's baffling to me. I'm trying to figure out how do we... And then I remembered a conversation I had with my buddy Jason last week, and I remembered Dean Jackson. There's too much in this. As simple as and direct as this is, and also still effective, let me give you an even easier, more effective version. So Saturday morning, David, I don't know if David's in here, but David's one of our Founders Club members, and he reached out to me Saturday morning. He said, I imported some expired listings into LeadDeck. What's your, do you have your scripting for that? And so I put this together, and I've got 2 versions. I've got version 1, which is the one step, and version 2, which is a 2-step. And please do not discount this because of how simple it is. Hey, Kathy, this is Josh with eXp Realty. Just curious, do you still own the property at street address? Because maybe they don't even own it. It's a binary yes or no. Binary yes or no. They say yes. Got it. Thanks for confirming. They say no. I'm sorry. Let me state that one first. Maybe they already sold it, or maybe there was some mix-up. They say no. Got it. Thanks for confirming. Do you own any other properties in the area by chance? Asking because I have a private client looking to make a purchase right now. They say yes. Okay, great. We have a private client who's looking to purchase in the area. Are you totally opposed to looking at an offer for it? Why do you ask is another, they might ask, they might say that. Do you still own the property? Well, why are you asking? Why do you ask? That would be a very Northeast response. Who's asking? Who wants to know? Well, I have a private client who's interested in making an offer, but I just wanted to confirm that you still own the property first. Would you be totally opposed to looking at an offer for it or on it? I was deciding, I've used on it or for it back and forth. I don't know which one sounds better. I don't know, on it, for it, on it, for it, on it, I don't know, whatever. I think it's splitting hairs. Here's a reason that has me excited about this. I started using this weekend with people scanning QR codes on direct mail that I have going out. And I've already gotten multiple replies from people that have never replied to anything before. They're getting direct mail because they did something in the shadows, but they've never actually engaged with me, right? They requested a home value, they requested an offer, but they've never actually engaged with me. And so I'll show an example real quick. It's a woman named Joni. Where's Joni? Here's Joni. So Joni scanned the QR code on a postcard. I think it was Sunday morning. I don't know why. Doing nothing early in the morning. So I thought, let me try this. Subject line, RE, the street address. Just curious, do you still own the property at 515 Ridgeview Drive, Joni? She says, literally just replied and said, yes. That was it. Got it. Thanks for confirming. Would you be totally opposed to looking at an offer for it? And originally, I swear she said, maybe I was seeing the yes. So maybe I was seeing the thread here because I first thought she said yes. And I was thinking, did she get confused because of my double negative? Like, what's happening here? Is the wording? But I think what happened was I thought I saw the yes earlier in the thread. But what she actually said was, no, I wouldn't be opposed. No, I wouldn't be opposed. Right on. I'll put together some preliminary numbers and email you tomorrow morning. Now, I have not heard back from her yet on this, but I will follow up with her. If I don't hear from her by noon, I'm deploying everything. I'm going to call her. I'm going to text her, and I'll reply to this and say, just making sure you got this. Looks like the preliminary offers came back between 380 and 385. Would you be available for a quick chat today to confirm some info and details about the property so we can get you the best offer possible? Okay, so we can get you the best offer possible. So I'm offering her a reason why. I did not include this. That said, I took a closer look at the property. Honestly, because I think 385 is what I would list it at if we were going to list it. And so that is also what made me think about the fees thing. So I'm going to present her with that offer. I guarantee she's going to say something to the effect of, that price is, I think that price would be great, but what are all these fees? Well, if we got you that, if we could get you that number and I could fix the problem with the fees, is that something you'd be interested in? So, Jim, go ahead.
Josh, a couple questions on something like this. Getting rid of the fees, is that in essence taking her to a listing?
100%. 100%.
Okay.
Right? Because
so,
it might not be as convenient, but look, there are you can have speed, convenience, or price. Speed, convenience, or price. You can have 2 out of 3, but if you want all 3, we need to go back to COVID. Let's be honest. Because at this point, in a normal market, and most of you are pretty close to that. Some of you may still be more more of a seller's market, maybe some of you more of a buyer's market. But in typical normal markets, sellers can get 2 out of the 3, but not all 3. Speed, convenience, price. Speed, convenience, price. We got to pick 2 out of the 3. So if you like the price, okay, and the convenience, or I was riffing here. This was not that breakdown was not planned. But we got to figure out the around those. So like if you like really what happens is with fees, they don't like the price. They like the sales price, but they don't like the net offer, right? So it's really net offer, convenience, and speed. Net offer, convenience, and speed. So they don't like the net offer, but they like the convenience and speed. Well, then we're going to have to if we want a higher net price, we're going to have to sacrifice some of the convenience. Now, the good news is I can still, in most cases, help address the speed issue through our marketing and through our 7-day stress-free home sale. But we're not going to have all three. So if you want the speed and convenience, you're going to have to take a less net offer. But if you can work with me on the other two, we can get you a lot more in your pocket, Mr. Mrs. Seller. But you're introducing the whole idea with a different, you're starting with an offer versus starting with, hey, David, would you like to list your property this spring? Now, you ask enough people and you might get some yeses to that. But if you want to increase your conversation rate, we got to have a different means of having the conversation and also introduce real actual value or a unique mechanism, a differentiating piece than what others are doing.
If she picks the least, that she doesn't pick the listing piece, she just says, you know what? Yeah, I'll take this even with the fees. And that's through the direct buyer or the other buyer.
That would be QuickBuy or Zoomcasa or Zoodealio, and the two of you would figure out together, or you would make a recommendation. Okay, if you want that speed and convenience, and you're willing to, and you're okay with the fee structure, then we should go with this one. And oh, by the way, in order for me to actually submit your property, I'm going to need to schedule a time to pop by, take a quick tour, and get photos. They require me to get photos of the property. These are not photos for us to list it on the market. These are private photos for the buyer because they are an out-of-state buyer. They are buying it essentially sight unseen. I'm the one, I'm their eyes, I'm their boots and eyes on the ground.
So with Zoomcasa or the others like it, I'm assuming then they're going to, once you set up all the parameters, they're going to make a direct buy and you'll get some type of portion or agreed to percentage when they make the purchase, or
correct.
How does that work?
Yep, correct. So the way it works, if they decide, okay, I'm going to go back to the 3 C's here. If they decide at this point that they want to proceed with one of the institutional offers, we would submit for final with whomever. I'll use QuickBuy. And I'm going to use QuickBuy because one of these days I'm going to tie down my guy, Shay McGee. He had a settlement in January with QuickBuy where he was very handsomely compensated and his sellers were thrilled. So it wasn't like he won and they lost. Everybody was happy, which is what we want, right? So in that scenario, we need photos and information that we submit. In the case of QuickBuy, they have an app on your phone that you have to submit properties for final. So you'd submit, you have to upload photos, you have to answer questions, you have to give them addresses for comps, all of that stuff. It takes 20 to 30 to 45 minutes to submit it for final. Okay, so it's work, but at this point, you've had significant conversations and connected with the homeowner, right? So we're not spending 30 to 45 minutes unless we've seen the property in person and gotten photos. And in most cases, we'll have met the owner unless they're out of state absentee and they're providing us access, whatever. But in that case, we've talked to them on the phone. My point is, we've already established the fact that we've got a good chance to be the solution here. We submit for final. in the case of Quick Buy, they take 2 or 3 days to do their full review, due diligence, etc. And then they will come back with, usually they'll come back with both options again. Because, and I'll pull up, I'm not talking theoretically here. I think it's easier and more, I think it's more easy to comprehend when we're showing like actual instead of theoretical. Like I like this offer from Quick Buy, this dual close Advantage Plus offer. So I'm going to get photos. I'm going to submit the property. Quick Buy will review, and in 2 or 3 days they'll come back, and they'll most likely come back with both of their options again, their single close and dual close, but it will be finalized numbers. Meaning they've done all of their due diligence, they verified comps, et cetera, et cetera. At that point, it's a real offer, and all that Joni needs to do with my help is choose which one of these are we going to finalize so that they put it in writing and we can proceed. Now so I've been at that point with lots of clients, and I've never closed with Zoomcasa or Zoodealio or Quick Buy. I've had contracts with many of them, and I want to close with them. It's just that in most cases, if I'm essentially what happens is they're writing an offer as an unrepresented buyer. So in that case, who is my representation to? It's to Joni. So if my representation is to Joni, and I think after we get everything in writing, if I think fiduciarily she should list it, and here's why, and I can make that case for her, I'm going to tell her that, and that's usually what ends up happening. So sometimes I'm able to convince them, quote unquote, convince them that that's their best path before we get to that point with the institutional buyers. And sometimes it's after. Either way, I don't care because no one else has gone to that length with them, which means I'm no longer competing in most cases. It's my business to have with Joni here as the example, as long as I don't screw it up. Like as long as I don't show myself to be incompetent. Go ahead, Jim.
If you, so your 7 days to sales success plan, what you're doing there is saying, look, let's try this on the open market for 7 days. Let me see if I can sell it. If not, we always got these offers in the background.
Exactly. That's right? Exactly perfect. Thank you. You're doing my job for me. So what often happens is I'll say something like this. I think these are good offers, Joni, and I think they're a great backup plan. But why don't we try and beat them on the open market? Because we can very likely achieve the same sales price with significantly less fees and maybe even less hassle. Because these companies, when they're buying them, because they're buying them sight unseen, they're not just making, they're not buying like the local cash buyer who's going to give a cash offer, no inspections, no nothing, no nonsense. I'm literally buying in cash and we can close in 10 days or as soon as we have clear title. These companies are paying for a home inspection, paying for an appraisal. They've got a lot of additional addenda and so forth. And rightfully so. They're providing a service and convenience for a fee, but they're going to protect themselves as well, which is what allows them to buy in lots of different areas. So there's that to weigh as well in that process with them. And for me, that has been one of the big reasons why I've been able to pivot so often to that. Because as you said, worst case scenario, Joni, we try this for 7 days and we don't get what we thought, we can always go back to Quick Buy and say, hey, you know what? We'll take you up on that offer. Let's roll. And also, a lot of this and how I present or propose to them, because it's not presenting, it's really making proposals to them, is going to be based upon what additional information I am able to gather at this stage. Because what and how I propose we proceed is going to differ greatly if it's vacant, if it's turnkey, if it needs work, if they're trading up, if they're trading down, if they're relocating out of the area. So we're using this flow to give us a legitimate reason why. Okay, I've got preliminary offers. I want to review them with you, but I just need to confirm some information and details. That gives us the information and details so we can then propose to them a specific solution that makes the most sense for them. Rather than it'd be like going to the doctor and the doctor says, well, I'm going to write you a script for morphine. And you're like, well, you didn't even ask what's wrong with me. Well, how do you know that's going to fix it? Right? So we need to find out and I will often say, hey, Jim, if I had a magic wand, what would you like to have happen here? If I could just magically make this, happen for you, what are you thinking you'd like to have happen? And I don't know that yet with Joni. I won't know that because I haven't connected with her yet, other than the little email exchange that we've had. Now, I can make some assumptions based upon the fact that she's owned the property for a while. I think I looked it up in Truth People Search, and she's older than me, I'll say, right? So I might make some assumptions that she is wanting a lower maintenance solution, because it's like, I think it's almost a half an acre. Now, it's a ranch house, so she doesn't have stairs, but it still could be a significant amount of outdoor maintenance, right? So I could make those assumptions, but until I verify from her, I won't know exactly what the ideal proposed solution or path forward will look like. Jonita.
Yes, Josh. So just a quick question here. So how do you pivot when the seller absentee owner says, I have absolutely no interest in listing the property?
Okay. And you already presented the preliminary offers?
Yes.
Okay. So then at that point, you need to decide, and they said no to the preliminary offers.
Not responded to the preliminary.
Okay. So then
offer,
if they're saying there's no chance I'm going to list it, then it's either those offers, or is this worthy of being bait to go back to the start and go and find a buyer that I'm going to, in that case, my representation is going to be the buyer, not the seller, because this person has told me, I don't want your help or representation. And it may or may not make sense. Like you may decide that for now, I'm going to put this, you may decide, I'm going to use lead deck speak now. There'd be no reason indicated they would sell if if it were whatever, if we got to this number or whatever, but we're not going to list it. There would be no reason not to put them in your seller deck, and just to keep it in mind. Because as you work, you may come across someone that would be like, that could be perfect for that one that refused to, had wanted no part of listing and didn't like the institutional offers, right? So I wouldn't be married or attached to any of that. It's just a matter of getting to this point, so what am I doing next so I can move on? Am I going to go back to the start and try and find them a buyer because this would be a great flip, or this would be a great long-term rental, or this would be a great Airbnb? I don't know, but that would be the decision tree. And it might just be, for now, I'm going to put this here. I may decide that I'm going to use it in my deal of the week email or on social as an off-market deal, or maybe not. Right? And if they're unreasonable, you might not do any of that. you might just say, you know what, I'm just gonna work through another 25 until I find somebody that I would like to work with a little bit, who seems a little bit more reasonable. And also keep in mind, if the latter, meaning if you decide that I'm going to work on behalf of this person to try and bring buyer representation to it, document and demonstrate the work that you do in case they might change their mind at some point. And you're the one that demonstrated and documented for them the value that you provide and bring, even before having written representation. Does that help?
Absolutely, yeah, that makes sense. Because this property is occupied by tenants, so I think that's probably why she's like, hey, I don't want to, list it at all. So
Totally. So that is going to be a hard one to find, unless, so if it's tenant occupied and they want market value, I might still put them in the deck, knowing that you might get someone that is looking for turnkey rentals. There are investors that like to buy properties that have tenant occupants existing because they can get the security deposit turned over and they can get prorated rents, and they, for whatever reason, they may want that. But I would say that's a smaller percentage, so yeah, that sounds like one that I wouldn't spend a ton of time and energy on, but just to keep in mind. And also, if you haven't already, find out, is the tenant month to month? Is there a lease in place? Do you get the sense that they want to stay forever, or is this temporary? Meaning, like, it could be that it is a military tenant and they know that they're going to be transferred in whatever amount, right? So then you could still position it or position yourself to get the opportunity if or when the situation or the scenario does change.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
You bet. That was really all I had for today, because I'm realizing that I need to be more short, sweet, and concise with these and not ramble on and on and on. So here's what I will do in wrapping up. A couple of housekeeping items. Number one, we were a little behind on replays because Sean was traveling and there was a problem with our platform. We had a support issue happening and we couldn't update things. However, the live demo from last week on Friday, which I think was, was if you're not using Lead Deck, is a nice walkthrough explanation, etc. That is live at leaddeck.ai/ask. leaddeck.ai/ask. And I know that Sean is working through getting the live as well. Those are always at /closers, leaddeck.ai/closers. Oh, look at this. I think at least some of them have been added, at least a couple of them. So we're making progress on those. If you missed anything. Oh, okay. I'm glad this one's up. This is Fridays, I think. And this was me admitting the error of my ways in how I was leading the group at large on a couple of different things, and removing friction to help you move all the way along this path. In other words, specifically giving you on an alternative if you're not ready, willing, and able to record personal video messages via Loom, etc. Like, let's remove that friction and just keep the conversation going. And this one with Joni is an example of that. Normally I would have sent her a video walking her through these, but I need to demonstrate and document for everyone the fact that you can succeed without that piece of the puzzle. You can get to the opportunity to connect with them by phone or in person, or it could be on Zoom. I have the Zoom one there because, some people may want Zoom. You may be someone that prefers Zoom. And so offering that option and being able to be face-to-face with someone, I think, has merit. Although for some consumers that may be like overwhelming. So it's there, but know that more often than not, it's going to be by phone or at the property. I do have some people that say also they want to meet at my office, or they want to meet at a coffee shop or whatever. And that's fine too. Whatever makes the most sense. The point here is to connect with them on a deeper level beyond just a short email, text, or phone exchange. So that one is, if you weren't there live or want the kind of breakdown of that, I would highly recommend checking that out. For those who are Founders Club or participants in the listing sprint, we are doing a bonus session today at noon. If you can't make it, of course, we're going to record it and document that very transparently. It's going to be a lot of this breakdown, again, specific for absentee owner audience, and then answering questions, etc. And I feel like there was at least one other housekeeping item. Tomorrow, we are going to spend time helping Dana. Dana was at an open house Friday or Saturday. Let me check here. I think it was on Friday. And in between, this is great. In between, she sent me a voice memo. So at her open house, she was doing outreach. So at her open house, she was doing this. Okay, she was contacting. She was tapping to text, call, and email. And she said, I just had a guy who responded immediately to me. And she was texting and emailing because she was at an open house. And I think she didn't want to be on the phone if she had someone coming in. So she was just tapping to text and email. And I had a guy respond immediately. He said, the property that you just reached out on is under escrow, under contract. But I've got lots and lots of other properties. And they are actually lots, meaning land, for the most part, but it's a lot. And it's a significant amount of volume as far as dollar wise. And so she was asking for some help on that. And I thought, why not use that as an opportunity to collaborate together to help her and build out a plan. And he has since sent, I think, 7 different properties that he would consider. So we'll break down how I would build a plan, and then also how to propose to him to give yourself, Dana, or anyone the opportunity to list those properties if there's the opportunity to do that, or if that's something that you want to undertake, because it is, you may or may not want it, right? And now I think in this case she does, or would potentially. But sometimes, if you've got somebody who's unreasonable, or you've got, a unique property that's going to take a lot of time and energy for you to market it, you might not want to, right? Because, with what we're offering and we're doing, if you're putting in the work, if you're doing the time blocks, you get to a point pretty quickly where you can choose who you want to work with and what opportunities you want to pursue versus put on the back burner for now. I think that's it for now. By tomorrow, so we'll help Dana. No, I'm sorry. I was going to say by tomorrow. That's not true. By Wednesday, I will have data to report back on the email that I scheduled out on Friday, which is to the homeowners in my database. And I didn't think of this simple 9-word pivot until I already have that scheduled, but that is coming soon for, okay. So actually, let me do this. I'm going to, for those of you who are interested and you're like, I'm not sure what my plan is for the week. I don't know what to do this week. So I would find as many ways possible to use this 2-step script. So property owners already in your database, or any lead target in lead deck. Okay, any lead target in lead deck is where I would go with this, and simply asking the question if they still own the property. So do you have ZBuyer leads? Do you have oh my goodness, there's so many different seller leads that if you've been in the business for any length of time, you may have in your database. Come on, somebody give me some other names of ones. I don't know if Zerple's still around, or what the other ones are. I can't remember. But odds are you have some home value offer request leads in your database that that maybe you haven't verified leads. There you go, Sean. Actually, okay, I have a couple minutes. Watch this. Let me rather than just give you all homework, I pay for ZBuyer leads. I pay, I don't know. I've beat them up and beat them up and beat them up. I've tried to quit several times because so much of what they send is crap. But then every once in a while I get a good one, and I beat them up to the point where I have like a monthly account that's like, I pay next to nothing for it. I pay like $100 or $150 a month. And once a month I get these what they call prospecting leads. So I'm going to watch this. So I'm gonna whoops, there we go. RE, what is it? 1 Northwatch Lane. You know what? I don't know what the name of this person is, because I'm sure the name is not Becker. So let's see what the actual name is. I'm sure that's the last name, I would think. Jordan, there we go. Do you still own the property at 1 Northwatch? Now I'm doing this manually because these prospecting leads in ZBuyer don't feed in. So when I get new leads, I do have it so that they feed into Bold Trail. But these prospecting leads, because they're older, they want you to manually work them because they don't want there to be any funny business, I guess. So I'm going to send that email, and then I'm going to send the text manually as well. It's a blue text. Just curious, comma, do you still own the property at 1 Northwatch Lane? Question mark. It's a blue text. We'll see what happens. So we've got that and that.
Include your name with that?
I didn't. I didn't in part because in October I texted and I did. If I hadn't, if this was the first communication I'd ever sent to him, I would have put that. I would have disclosed who I was. So I don't know if that was a lead that came through again or what's going on with that, but Kyle Powell, but Cynthia Myers, that doesn't make any sense. Anyway, I'm going to do that. I get 3 to 5 prospecting leads from ZBuyer. Whatever. It's just practice. It's just practice. So I'm going to go through and do that work with the goal for me. I just want to be making more offers. Like that's my biggest goal is not just the conversations. I want to be making more offers, actually presenting preliminary offers and making the offer to proceed with that or pivot to another solution for them.
So Josh, that document that you posted was your 10 or 12 page absentee one, as opposed to the 9-word script that you showed.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So I have that. I have the 2-step in the expired. I didn't add it to the absentee one yet. I will between now and noon. So don't print it yet. But I will add that. I've been working on these. So my goal is to have scripting books for 5 major buckets. Okay. FSBO, expired, absentee, meaning like non-owner occupied, existing database, and then owner occupied, like senior owner, etc. Honestly, they're not going to be all that wildly different, but there are some nuance and differences to it. For example, the more direct version of the expired, because at some point they were open to offers because they had it listed, that question would be, are you still accepting offers for your property at street address? But I wouldn't say that with an absentee owner, because they may have never had it for sale. You know, they may have bought it 12 years ago and figured that they were going to hold on to it forever and pass it to their children, right? So there'll be a lot of duplication in these script books, but there will be some nuance that are specific to those 5 big buckets. And then I'll also be doing similar for the buyer scripting. So I've got it.
Why would you not start in with do you still own the property?
Well, that's in here. I have both versions in here. I have the step 1, I have the 1-step version. And then if you go down here, the 2-step version. The 2-step being, first I'm asking for confirmation, and then I'm asking if they would still consider an offer.
Got it. Thanks.
And I have them both in there because I think there's more than one right answer. And if you time is your fixed asset, right? I mean, that is the one thing that none of us here have any way to manipulate time to give, none of us here can find, or create more hours in a week than the other. And so if you're busy and you want fewer conversations with people that are more likely and open to what you have to offer, direct will get you less response because it's more friction, but it will get you more people who are motivated. If you just need more reps and responses and replies, then the 2-step is a less friction way to initiate a conversation to then get to the more direct question. Would you be totally opposed to looking at an offer on it? And I will do that too, even with my existing database. So if I'm super busy and I still want to get something out, I will send something that intentionally will get me fewer replies, but those replies are more likely to be legitimately motivated. It's just, it's marrying, your resources, what you have and what you need more of, etc. So these are all a work in progress, but better, in my opinion, better than anything. What I typically put out is, and I'll just be honest here. What I typically put out is this stuff, the first 4, and I need to get better at connecting the dots on the last 3 for everyone, including myself. And I think in part because I'm usually pretty good at just figuring out what to do here, but that's not a method that scales. That's not, if I want to build an army of people that are getting predictable results end to end, not just I can predictably get you this amount of conversation opportunities, but actually this amount end to end, predictable number of transactions, closed deals, compensation in your bank account. I need to do a better job of connecting the dots, start to finish, back to front, and being able to give that to someone and say, here's the recipe. If you follow the recipe, you'll get a nice cake most of the time. Every once in a while, something will go haywire, but most of the time, it'll predictably create this result. Okay. Noon for those who are in the listing sprint. And if you can't make it, it'll be recorded and available later today. For anyone else, I'll be back here tomorrow. We're gonna take Dana's scenario and help her build a plan for how, where, and what to do to find the buyers, and also how to propose to this seller, giving her an opportunity to list those properties, if not now, in the near future.
Are you emailing out a link to the bonus session?
I did.
Okay.
I did. Well, I did through Zoom, and it's the same Zoom link. So I just added, but that's a good point. I should, I'm making a note of that now. Email reminder.
When and what is the next sprint?
So it's going to be
On
senior owners.
those.
Yeah, it's going to be senior owners, and it's going to be most likely March 30, 31, and April 1st. Maybe the 23rd. Definitely no sooner than the 23rd. It'll either be the 23rd or the 30th, and I just need to coordinate with Sean on a couple of things. In the meantime, if you want to, if you kind of want to skip to the front of the line or get started with it, this playbook, oh, that's my scripts book. This playbook that I outlined for Joan is the inspiration for that. Joan is an agent with James and I in Colorado, and this is a plan that I helped her build that she is beginning the implementation of this week to build a pipeline of senior owners that want and need her help. And I'd be happy to share that with anyone. If you're watching on the live, you can DM me on Facebook or Instagram, or drop a comment. And if you're in the Zoom room, here you go. And I know Sean and Wendy will be super helpful with that, because they do in-person workshops for seniors, I think once a month, and they actually get people to show up. I mean, so they're working hard. They're doing something right. And so that's not part of our plan, the in-person event, but maybe Wendy and Sean will do a little bonus session for those that participate in that on what they're doing on that front. Nothing like me just putting them right on the spot without asking right then and there. So, all right. I'll see, if not at noon, I'll see you tomorrow morning at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. And you can check out the replay as soon as it's available at leaddeck.ai/closers. Lying in the middle of the night, trying to figure out what to do.
I think any night would be fine this week.